We're joined by Michelle Malkin, best-selling author, syndicated columnist. Also joined by Kelly Sadler, former special assistant to President Trump and communications director for America First Action Super PAC. Ladies, it's a pleasure to have you here. Michelle, we'll start with you. Thoughts on the anguish of that young woman and how CNN, MSNBC, the other broadcast networks are completely ignoring her and 12 other victims of these left-wing rioters?
It's vile what the media is doing. They're lying, they're gaslighting, and of course you're familiar with that concept when people are lied to over and over and over again, so much so that they begin to doubt their perception of objective truth and reality. And the reality is that since this outbreak of riots, since this paroxysm of arsons and looting began early last week, the media has lied over and over and over again in trying to perpetuate this narrative that these protests are, quote unquote, peaceful. The anguish of the woman that you showed, Chris, is being echoed across the country, and yet those voices are stifled. Those stories are whitewashed, and it's not just ordinary citizens that are suffering. This is a national emergency because there is now a concerted and coordinated effort against law enforcement officers all across this country in some sort of sick effort to make them pay as reparations for the George Floyd incident that instigated this all. And of course, we still haven't had any due process, and that has not played out yet. But police officers now, every single night that they have to suit up, knowing that their communities are going to be under siege by an alliance of both Antifa, Black Lives Matter protesters and agitators, and all sorts of hangers-on and malefactors, knowing that they're putting their lives on the line over a lie that keeps getting repeated by the media. Yeah, and I don't know how you get justice for a black man whose life was seemingly taken wrongly by killing other innocent black people and other innocent minorities, but that's the logic of the left. Kelly, let me talk to you about this. The riots, how are they going to impact the swing state vote, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of swing state voters are appalled at the rioting. We've just been through COVID lockdown, right? They're just, a lot of minority-owned businesses are just starting to reopen their doors and now are getting vandalized. And some of the images that you're seeing, not covered by CNN or MSNBC, are just really heartbreaking. But they can see through this media narrative. There is a lot of gaslighting going on, but the facts remain the facts. I mean, the New York Times reporters are basically saying that vandalism is not violence, but publishing Tom Cotton's op-ed is inciting violence. I mean, this is just nonsensical. You have Lego basically saying we're not going to promote police and firefighter toys or builds. You have Nickelodeon going off air for 8 minutes yesterday on Tuesday to preach to young children. This is sickening what's going on. And I think that, battleground voters can see very clearly just the gaslighting that is going on by the liberal elites.
Yeah, ladies, I only get about 30 seconds for each of you. I want you guys to comment on Drew Brees saying he loves America and can never disrespect America and being forced by the left-wing sports press to walk it back. Michelle, you go first.
I say amen to Drew Brees, and he echoes a call to arms that I issued on my syndicated column this week, as well as a series of videos that I posted on Twitter before I was suspended because I dared to voice the very sane view that violent criminal looters should face deadly consequences. That is, of course, a policy position that is taken by any responsible law enforcement officer. People need to get up off their knees. They need to defend the historic American nation. And yes, it is absolutely true, as we've discussed here today, that it's terrible, the suffering that many minorities are now being imposed upon because of these riots. But you know what? White people also are suffering as well. People across this country are suffering, whatever their colors are, and they shouldn't have to apologize for who they are, what they do, especially cops in this country. And I think we need an army of Drew Breeses to echo this message much louder than it already has been said.
Drew Brees has
put an exclamation point on that.
Yeah, Drew Brees has a First Amendment right, and it's as valuable as anyone else's out there. And God bless him for getting out there and saying it. I'm sorry he had to retract it because of the woke crowd. We need to hear more of Drew Brees and people like him.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.